excellent segue into the question I wanted to ask in terms of prosecution, to talk about the different levels, right? So there's that which can happen within Ukraine, currently happening. There's regional bodies, there's the International Court of Justice. Where are we? What is the difference? What can Ukraine actually do in this particular instance? As an example, with these war crimes and the evidence that's being gathered, and against who is it going to be? Targeted? Putin, the generals.
Right. So I think the 2 to 3 places that I would look for where we can anticipate trials are the Ukraine national authorities, other national authorities who are currently investigating, including Lithuania, Poland, Germany. Germany's probably got the most sophisticated system in terms of already having tried war crimes out of Syria. And so that's the Ukrainian authorities, then other national authorities in the region, and then of course the International Criminal Court. I do think that it is quite realistic that there will be prosecutions. There will be some forms of accountability, in part because Ukraine has in their custody many Russian soldiers, including presumably military officers. President Zelensky mentioned, they have a pilot who has his instructions on a sheet of targeting civilian objects. And, Ukraine has at this point killed 12 Russian generals. I think, with time, one of those generals will not be killed, but will be captured. So I think it's very realistic that we'll actually see trials. And I also think, I think the big question is, will the most senior people who are responsible for this, Putin and his high command, ever see a courtroom? I think there are 2 answers to that. One is very unlikely. It's just realistically, it's just very unlikely, unless he is thrown out of office. And then the second is, what I do think still is very likely, is he'll be indicted. I think it's very likely that the International Criminal Court, with the evidence it's getting, will indict a sitting head of state of a major world power, Vladimir Putin, and that on its own is quite a bombshell. And it, for better or worse, it's a very complicated situation. It will impede his ability. It currently impedes his ability to travel internationally, which is another message to the Russian people, like, you are led by an individual who cannot represent your state internationally. But I do think that day is coming, with one footnote, which is maybe a diplomatic deal is worked out in which the Security Council under the International Criminal Court Treaty is able to suspend the investigation, let's say with respect to Putin. And that's part of the peace negotiations or something like that.
Interesting. Just to clarify, because I do understand that Ukraine and Russia are not part of the ICC. Is that correct? And does that affect anything that we've discussed?
So, so far has not affected anything we've discussed, except for, anything we've discussed so far, in the sense that a few years ago, Ukraine, even though it's not a party to the International Criminal Court Treaty, did enter a declaration with the International Criminal Court, which you can do on an ad hoc basis, and basically said from a year like 2015 forward, you have jurisdiction over anything that occurs in Ukraine. So the International Criminal Court has complete jurisdiction over any war crimes that are committed in Ukraine's territory by any actors. If they ever went down the path of thinking about crimes against humanity or genocide, they have jurisdiction over that. They do not, the International Criminal Court does not have jurisdiction over the crime of aggression, so the launching of the war itself. Even though that is a crime within the court's treaty, both states must be parties, and they're not.